Testing, Flow College. Can you hear me over there? Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. ODAC men's volleyball, the Grand Center in Danville, Virginia. Averett versus Randolph. Mic check. Test, test, test. Mic check. Test, test, test. Test, 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 test. Mic check. Test, 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 test. Mic check, test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. Averett versus Randolph. ODAC men's volleyball, the Grand Center. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3. ODAC men's volleyball, the Grand Center. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, check. 1, 2, 3. ODAC men's volleyball. Can you hear me over there, Flo? Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. Mic check, test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. Thank you. If you can hear me there, thank you. Appreciate it. Check, check.
And welcome back to the Averett Sports Network. Hi, I'm Wyatt Ockapole. I will be gladly here alongside you doing the play-by-play for today's match here between Averett University here at home and beautiful Danville here on Averett University's North Campus, here hosting the visiting Wildcats of Randolph College. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm Wyatt Ockapole. Glad to be alongside you here. I'm going to take a look here at the starting lineups here for both teams. For the home Cougars, there'll be number 3, Julian Hernandez. Number 7, Liam Aldrin. Number 8, Dominic Jenkins. Number 9, Aid Williams. Number 15, Chuck Freeman, who will also be your libero tonight. Number 16, Luke Brown. And number 18, Nicholas Breen, here, a local here of Danville, Virginia, and the Cougars' only senior for this year. Taking a look also at the visiting Wildcats starting lineup, it'll be number 1, Samuel Looney. Number 3, Connor Marr. Number 5, Sean Anderson. Number 10, Howard Hoagie. Howard Hoagie, yes. Number 11, Ahmed Diallo. Number 12, Shamel Smith. Number 13, Derek Smith. And number 15, Zachary Septoff. With the national anthem looming here in just a few minutes, we're going to step aside here on the Averett Sports Network for just a moment for both the national anthem and the starting lineups here by our brand new PA announcer, Dominic Savorzak. We'll step aside here on the Averett Sports Network, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Good evening and welcome to the Grand Center for tonight's ODEC men's volleyball match featuring the Wildcats of Randolph College and your Cougars of Averett University. Fans, at this time we ask you to please rise and honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
Welcome back to the Averett Sports Network. Like I said, if you're just joining us, hi, I'm Wyatt Ockapole. Glad to be alongside you for this one here in the Grand Center here in Danville, Virginia, between the home Averett University Cougars and the visiting Wildcats of Randolph College. Now, Averett comes in after a loss last time out here to Virginia Wesleyan University, where they were swept 3 sets in a row to the Marlins here at home in their last home match. Taking a look also at Randolph College. Last time was a win also at home for them against Regent University. If you're just joining us, I'll go down the lineups here again. If you've just tuned in here with us, it'll be number 3, Julian Hernandez. Number 7, Liam Aldrin. Number 8, Dominic Jenkins. Number 9, Aiden Williams. Number 15, Chuck Freeman. Number 16, Luke Brown. And number 18, Nicholas Breen. Coming for the visiting Wildcats of Randolph College, it'll be number 1, Samuel Looney. Number 3, Connor Marr. Number 5, Sean Anderson. Number 10, Howard Hoagie. Number 11, Ahmed Diallo. Number 12, Shamel Smith. Number 13, Derek Smith. Number 15, Zachary Septoff. with the head coaches here coming to meet here at the scorer's table. We're going to be set here for the opening handshakes, and we'll be set to go here in just a moment as we are about to get underway with just about a minute left to go here on the clock before we get the first set underway here from the Grant Center here in Danville. The Cougars come in, sitting at also for those of you that are just listening or just tuning in, the Cougars also come in 5-17. So looking to turn their season around here and get back in the win column as they are looking for a win desperately to be able to come out of here in with good momentum, but turning around here for the visiting Wildcats. If Wildcats come in here 15-10, so they are looking to add yet another win in the win column as they have been on quite the impressive winning streak here. Coming into tonight. As we get set to go here as the libero for Randolph checks in. It'll be number 1, Samuel Looney, here on the right side of your screens. So, if you can probably tell, Randolph is here on the right side of your screens in the black and gold, mostly black and gold with their libero in the white, and with Averett on the left as their libero is in the gold. We'll be set to go here on the way as it will be number 3. That's Connor Marr here for Randolph for the serve as Marr is right there. And a strong attack on the side of Randolph as Randolph gets on the attack early as it'll be Aldrin back with Luke Brown. Brown is the 1-1 to put the Cougars on the board first as the Cougars get going early. So the Cougars started out here 1-0 here in the first set with Luke Brown set back to take the serve as Wildcats go right over the net, but it'll be a point over to the Wildcats with an early tie here to start this one. And it'll be number 13 back set to take the serve. It'll be Derek Smith here this time for the Wildcats. Smith goes over the net to Aldrin. Aldrin can't quite handle it. And it'll go to the floor. So it'll be an early 1-point lead now here for Randolph. And it'll be Smith back for the serve again here. Hoping to get on a 2-serve streak. It'll be Freeman. Back over to Aldrin. Aldrin's attack goes over the net and goes down for the kill. And it'll be off the hands of Smith as it will go out of bounds as the Cougars come back to tie it up here all at 2. So it'll be Aldrin back here to take the serve here for the Cougars. Aldrin serves it over the net. It'll be Looney. Back over to Marr, over to Brown. Brown who can't keep it quite in bounds as that will go out of bounds and it'll be off the hands of Brown and it'll be a 1-point lead yet again for the Wildcats. This time it'll be number 15, Zachary Septoff here for the serve. Septoff goes over the net this time to Hetherington, and Hetherington can't quite get there for the dig as he puts Randolph up by 2 this time, as Randolph goes up by a score of 4-2 here so far here in the first set. Septoff back for the serve as that one hits the net, gets over to Freeman. Set by Brown, it goes way out of bounds off the hands of Aldrin. So there will be a 3-point lead now here for Randolph and a 3-point hole here early here in the first set here for Averett, as so they'll look to come back into the in this one and tie this one up. And it'll be stepped off back in for Hetherington. Hetherington also can't quite dig it out again. So he now gives Randolph a 4-point lead, with the Cougars now digging themselves into a 4-point hole to start this one out. Stepped off, back for the serve. Stepped off, over to Hetherington. This time is good. Back to Brown, who sets up for Breen. Breen goes long. And Randolph out to an excellent 3-point lead here, though, as that point, though, apparently went to Randolph. So Friedman will check out here. And it looks like it'll be number 9, Aiden Williams, to check in here for the Cougars, as Williams will be back for the serve. Williams goes over the net, mishandled, but Looney keeps it in bounds as it goes way over the net, and it goes way off the back line. And the Cougars are right back in it. The score is now 6-4 in favor of Averett. Sorry, in favor of Randolph, as that one goes out of bounds. It'll be off the hands of Aiden Williams. So the Cougars looking to dig themselves out of yet a 3-point hole here. And a serve here from the Wildcats over to Aldrin. Back to Brown. Over to Hetherington, who taps it back over the net. Bumped by the Wildcats. Back over the net. Go the Wildcats. Goes Randolph over to Brown. Finds Breen. Breen can't quite get there as it's tapped around the net. Just over the net by Shamel Smith, the sophomore out of Tamarack, Florida. Diallo here back for the serve for the Wildcats as he'll go over the net. And Aldrin right there, who bumped it over Hetherington as that attack goes out of bounds. And it'll be off the hands of Nicholas Breen. So Randolph has extended their lead now to 5 points here in the first set over the Cougars. So the Cougars down by 5 points as Aldrin taps the one over to Brown. Gets it to Hetherington, who backs over to Looney. Over to Marr, and on the attack of the Wildcats, and they'll get a point there on the kill yet again. As there will be a timeout here for Averett. So we'll take it with them here on the Averett Sports Network. First timeout of the night. We'll be right back here on the Averett Sports Network in just a moment. Back on the Averett Sports Network. If you're just tuning in here, welcome here on White Acapulco, where we've got a great match here between the Cougars of Averett University here at home against the visiting Wildcats of Randolph College. Randolph has taken a 6-point early lead here over the Cougars here in the first set, as it'll be Aldrin who bumps it over to Brown, and Dominic Jenkins right there, and it'll be off the hands of the Wildcats as the Cougars get one back and cut this lead at half, as it'll be Nicholas Breen here back for the serve. Breen goes over the net. Marr right there. Off the tap goes to Liam Aldrin as the tap goes right to the back corner, right behind Aldrin as he can't quite get there. As Randolph gets one back, the score now extends to 11-6. And that one goes over the net to Aldrin off the serve from the Wildcats. Dominic Jenkins is right there for the kill. As that was an excellent kill here from Dominic Jenkins, and a great way for him to find some space on the floor right in front of the Wildcat defense. So Averett gets a point back here, and they've now cut the deficit to 5. They'll be Julian Hernandez back for the serve. Marr right there in front of the net as a great serve, a great attack and a kill comes from number 10. That's Harvard Hoagie, the first year out of Wolfsoid, Norway. So Hoagie back for the serve. Aldrin right there for Brown. Taps over to Jenkins. He'll get over to number 11, Diallo. Breen is right there. Diallo back over to Marr. As a kill comes through, goes to Freeman. Freeman right there for the dig. Aldrin now back over to Hoagie. Over to Marr. Back go the Wildcats, and that one goes out of bounds. So the Cougars on a point streak here as they have now cut this lead to 5 by a score of 12-7 here in the Grant Center. Jenkins over to Hernandez, over to Brown. Brown who swipes it over. A great dig here from the Wildcat defense. Over to Howdren, over back over to Brown. Sets it for Aldrin. Aldrin gets the kill as the Wildcats can't quite get there. As that was number 12, Shamel Smith off the arms of Smith off the kill from Aldrin, as Aldrin gets a point back here for the Cougars as he now is able to cut the lead down to just 4 by a score of 12-8 as Marr is right there, and a kill coming from number 13. That's Derek Smith. So the Wildcats get one back, and there'll be Marr here to serve it away here for the Wildcats. Marr over to Hernandez, over to Brown, over to Aldrin. Aldrin's shot is blocked. Over to Brown, back over to Williams. Over to Septoff, and Septoff's swipe lands right in front of the Cougar defense as the Cougars can't quite get there, as they'll now dig themselves deeper into a deeper hole as the score now extends to 14-8 here for Marr back for the serve. Marr gets it over to Aldrin. Back to Brown. Brown with a quick swipe. Over to Marr. As that one is blocked and goes way out of bounds. It'll be off the hands of Williams. As Williams will give Randolph yet another point here so far. As Randolph has now taken a 15-8 lead here so far in the first set. Marr over to Hernandez. Brown is right there for Aldrin. Aldrin's tap goes over the net. Back to Marr. Over to Looney. Over to Breen. Back tap by Brown. As that one goes out of bounds off the hands of Aldrin. As Aldrin can't quite keep that one in balance on the back line. Marr back for the serve, gets it over Hernandez, over to Brown. A little miscommunication between Brown and Williams. Gets the ball to land right in front of the 2. So Randolph on a point streak of their own. It'll be Marr here back for the serve. Marr gets over to Aldrin. As Aldrin over on the kill, honestly on the attack. As that one goes out of bounds, and again off the hands of the Cougars, as Randolph have now built themselves a 10-point lead, and the Cougars want to talk it over. We're going to go to a break here on the Averett Sports Network, and we'll be right back in just a moment after the timeout. with the Wildcats up by a score of 18-8 so far here in the first set. It'll be Marr back for the serve. Marr gets it over to Hernandez. Back to Brown. Taps over to Aldrin. Back to Marr over to Looney. As that one goes over the net off of number 11, Ahmed Diallo. As it'll be Aldrin right there as Looney digs it out. As it'll be swiped over the net over to Freeman. Back to Breen. Breen! Shot goes into the arms of number 12. And it'll be off the hands of Shamel Smith. As the Cougars get a point back and bring it back to within single digits. Brown goes into the net and can't quite get it over the net on that serve. So the Wildcats now go back up by a 10-point lead here, 19-9 so far, looking to take this first set here over the Cougars. Serve comes from number 13. That's Derek Smith as that one goes way out of bounds. As he'll give the Cougars back a point as Hernandez will check out here now for Joel Hetherington. As Hetherington will come back on the floor and head right over to the left side of the front line, right next to Nicholas Brain in the center. As Aldrin's serve goes way over the back line and will put the Wildcats now up again by a 10-point lead. So the score is now 20-10 with the Wildcats leading the Cougars here in Danville by 10 points as Brown gets over to Breen. It'll be off the hands of Sham. It'll be off the hands of Diallo as that one goes off the back line, off of the hands of the Cougars. As it'll be another point here for Randolph. So Randolph gets a point back as they are now only 4 points from taking the first set here in this one. Back is number 20, Addison Corey here for Randolph as he checks in. As Aiden Williams is right there for the kill. Aiden Williams with great court vision is able to find some space within the Cougar defense. So within the Wildcat defense, I should say. As Williams puts that one away for the Cougars and cuts this lead here to 9. As Mara is right there. Diallo's shot goes way over the net, but lands right in bounds. And there will be an 11-point lead here again for the Wildcats. Diallo back for the service. He'll go over the net to Hetherington. Over to Brown. Back to Hetherington. Over to Smith. Finds Marr. Back to Diallo. Diallo right off the hands of Freeman. As Freeman couldn't quite handle that one. So Freeman can't quite keep it in bounds as the Wildcats are now only 2 points from taking the first set here of this match in this one. As Breen is right there for Marr. Over to Aldrin. Over to Brown. Back over to Hetherington. And Hetherington will get it off the hands of Marr. As that point goes for the Cougars. So it'll be Breen now here back for the serve. As he'll get it over to Smith. Back over to Marr as the Wildcats are right there. That time it was Hoagie able to put one down right in front of the Cougar defense. So he gives the Wildcats now a chance for for a set point here. As it'll be Shamel Smith to go over that to Aldrin. Over to Brown who back taps it for Breen. Over to Diallo. Back over to Marr. Over to Smith as Smith is right there, but that one goes out of bounds as he couldn't quite put that one in bounds. And the Cougars aren't out of this yet. Still down by 11 points as Hernandez checks in here for the Cougars. Hernandez over the net to Looney. Over to Marr. Back to Smith as it'll be off the hands of Breen as Randolph comes back and puts that one away, and Randolph will take the first set here in this one by a score of 25-13. We'll head to the break here on the Averett Sports Network, and we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes with the start of the second set. With the start of the second set here from the Grant Center as we've switched sides. So if you're just tuning in, the Cougars are now here on the right side of your screen, and Randolph is now on the left side of your screen on the left side bench. As it'll be starting here starting the second set for the Wildcats. It'll be Mars, Septoff, both Smiths, Shamo, and Derrick, as well as Diallo and Looney. And it'll be Brown, Hernandez, Friedman, Breen, Aldrin, and Williams here to start the second set here for the Cougars. As the Wildcats start out with it'll be off the hands of Breen and Williams as the first point goes to the Wildcats here, so they get on the board first. Marr over the net to Friedman, over to Brown, back to Breen as Breen goes long. And the Wildcats get the first 2 points here of the second set, as that one went a little too far off the back line. Marr over the net to Freeman. Over to Brown. Back to Aldrin. As Aldrin's shot goes off to the side here to the Randolph bench. As Randolph has now built themselves a 3-point lead here. 3-0 so far here in the second set. As it'll be Marr here back for the serve. As Hernandez went dug out by Freeman. And tipped around but can't quite be saved by the Cougar defense. As they have now built themselves a 4-point lead here, so it's 4-0 here to the Wildcats here so far to start the second set. As Marr's serve goes into the net, and the Cougars catch a break. So it'll be Aldrin here now back for the serve. Aldrin over to Looney, back over to Marr, over to Diallo. Diallo's shot goes off of Freeman, and Freeman can't quite handle that one. So back for the serve here for the Wildcats is Smith. Derek Smith, number 13. As Smith goes over to Freeman, back to Brown. He sets it up for Breen as Breen's block goes off Shamel Smith, and it goes out of bounds. So it'll be a point here for the Cougars as they now cut the lead to 3 by a score of 5-2 here so far in the second set. It'll be Aiden Williams here back for the serve. Williams over to Looney, back to Marr on the front line, and it's right there for Septoff. As Randolph will get that point. As Randolph now with a 4-point lead here by a score of 6-2. Septoff here back for the serve. Septoff over the net to Aldrin. Back over to Brown. Over to Breen. Over to Smith. Over to Marr. Back to Diallo. Diallo who taps it for Freeman as Freeman couldn't quite get there for the dig in time. So Randolph now extends their lead to 5 points by a score of 7-2 here so far in the second set. Septoff over to Aldrin. Over to Brown. Brown's tap goes over the net as they'll get the point. So it'll be a point for the Cougars as they have now cut this lead to 4. As Randolph gets the point, and it'll be a serve for Diallo. Diallo goes over the net to Hetherington, and Brown kicks it out of bounds. And it'll be another Wildcat point here as they take a 9-3 lead. Aldrin tried to dig that one out, and Brown couldn't quite get there. So Randolph builds a 10-3 lead here so far here in the Grant Center. Diallo. And that one goes off the sideline as the side judge was right there as the Cougars get a point. And it'll be Hernandez here back for the serve for the Cougars as he'll go right into the net and give the Wildcats back yet another point by now a score of 11-4. This time it will be number 9 here for Randolph. That's Samuel Brown here for the serve. Dominic Jenkins is right there. Brown tipped by Aldrin. And Aldrin can't quite put it over the net. So Randolph will be back here for the serve. It'll be Samuel here back for the serve for Randolph, as Freeman's right there for Brown. Back with Aldrin on the attack. And it'll go out of bounds off the hands of Aldrin. As Randolph has now taken a 13-4 lead here over the Cougars here in Danville. It'll be Brown here back for the serve for Randolph. It'll be Freeman over to Brown for the Cougars. It'll be Dominic Jenkins as he goes way out of bounds. So the lead for Randolph is now 10 points. It'll be Brown back here again for the serve. Brown, as that one lands just out of bounds, as Coach Tillman is happy about that one. So the Cougars cut the lead now to single digits with Dominic Jenkins here back for the serve. Jenkins over to Smith, over to Marr, over to Diallo. Diallo on the attack, and that one goes out of bounds. And the lead is down to 8 here for the Wildcats. Jenkins here for the serve. Over to net to Smith, over to Marr, who sets it for Brown as that one goes into the hands of the Cougars. And the Cougars get another point. So the Cougars are on a 3-point streak. And it'll be Jenkins here back for the serve again here for Averett. Jenkins, as that one goes over the net but out of bounds. So it'll give the Wildcats yet another point, as they'll extend their lead here 15-7. As Coach Tillman wants to talk it over. We'll be right back here on the Averett Sports Network in just a moment after the timeout. Back here on the Averett Sports Network, if you're just joining us, we're glad to have you here. If you're just joining us, hi, I'm Wyatt Ocapole. Glad to be here with you in this match between the Averett University Cougars and the visiting Wildcats of Randolph College. As Diallo makes an excellent dig, as the Wildcats are able to keep that one in bounds. Septoff is right there for Aldrin. Back over to Brown. Brown taps him at Septoff. Back over to Marr. Back over to Septoff. Over to Hernandez as that one goes off the back line. As the Wildcats end that rally with another point, as they have now taken yet a 9-point lead here again by a score of 16-7. There'll be Marr here back for the serve. So it'll be Hoagie. That's Hoagie back for the serve. Septoff is right there. Dug out by Freeman. Excellent dig by Freeman. Back over to Aldrin. As Aldrin puts away the kill. As he ends that run by Randolph and gives his team a chance here to claw back into this one. It'll be Luke Brown here back for the serve. As it'll be Samuel Brown as he tried to dig that one out here for Randolph, but couldn't quite keep it in bounds. So Averett now only down by a score of 16-9. Brown over to Aldrin, off the serve to Brown, over to Breen over to Brown back over to Smith as Smith's kill goes inbounds and gives the Wildcats back a point. So it'll be Marr here back for the serve. Marr over the net to Hernandez. Hernandez can't quite keep that one in bounds as Freeman tries to chase it down and can't quite get there. So the Cougars down by now a score of 18-9 here in this second set. It'll be Marr here back for the serve. Marr's serve goes into the net and it'll go back over to the Cougars as they now get a chance here to cut into this lead. Aldrin's serve goes over the net to Brown. Brown off the dig. Over to Brown for the Cougars. Over to Breen as Breen's shot is blocked by Diallo. And it looked like number 8 for the Wildcats is Noah May, the first year out of Westerville, Ohio. Over the net goes Smith. Over to Aldrin. Over to Brown. Over to Williams. Dug out by Smith. Over to Marr. Back over to Marr. Over to Diallo. As Diallo's shot lands inbounds. As he now gives his team a 10-point lead. As the Wildcats now have extended their lead to 20-10 here in the second set rather quickly. Over the net to Smith, over to Brown, over to Hetherington, off the hands of, that is number 5, a new libero is in, Sean Anderson. It'll be off the hands of the Cougars. So yet again, the Wildcats find themselves within 4 points of taking the second set. Smith goes over the net, over to Aldrin. As a quick kill here comes by the hands of Samuel Brown for the Wildcats. As he puts it right in front of the near side defense for Averett. Sorry, excuse me, it was far side. As Freeman is right there off the serve, over to Brown, over to Aldrin. Aldrin's shot goes into the net, and it'll be yet another point here for Randolph. As the Cougars call a timeout and they want to talk it over. We'll be back here on the Averett Sports Network just out of the timeout in just a moment. Back here on the Averett Sports Network out of the timeout. If you're just joining us, hi, I'm Wyatt Ockapole. Glad to be here with you. We have a great one here in the Grant Center. Randolph is up 23-10 here in the second set over the Cougars here at home at Averett University. As that serve gets over to Hetherington, back to Brown, over to Aldrin, as Aldrin's shot is met by number 21. That's Connor Sherwood, and number 10, Halvard Hoagie. As the Wildcats now find themselves in set point, as the Wildcats are right there. It'll be off the hands of Aldrin as Randolph takes the second set here in Danville and a 2-0 set lead. And we'll go to the break here as that one was off the hands of Liam Aldrin. So Randolph goes up 2-0, and we'll come into the third set here in just a moment here on the Averett Sports Network. We're going to step aside here for just a minute, and we'll bring you back with the start of the third set here in the Grand Center. And the third set is about to get underway here in the Grand Center as the Wildcats of Randolph College have come in here to the Grand Center and taken a 2-0 set lead here to start this match out here tonight. And it'll be Sean Anderson to check in here for the Wildcats for number 14. That's Dante Reed, the sophomore out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And back here for the serve is Ian Arcee. As Arcee goes over the net to Aldrin, back to Brown, over to Aldrin, who tips it over the net for Smith. As the first point of the third set, this time will go to the Cougars. So it'll be Luke Brown here back for the serve. Brown gets over then to Smith, over to Arcee. Back to Derek Smith as that one goes long, way off the back line. So the Cougars now take a 2-0 point lead here in the third set. So the Cougars look like they're fighting back here a little bit here in the third set as Brown goes over to Anderson. Smith is right there for the kill on the far side, and gives the Wildcats a point here in the third set and cuts the Cougar lead here in half. So the Cougars still have a 2-1 point lead here over the Wildcats here early here in the third set as that one gets over to Brown. Back over to Breen. Breen's shot goes wide. And it'll somehow have stayed in bounds, either that or off the hands of one of the Wildcats. And it'll come back for the Cougars. So the Cougars get a point back, and they now take a 2-point lead and take a 3-1 lead here so far in the third set, as that one goes into net off the hands of Aldrin. And it'll go back here to the Wildcats here, as the Wildcats now cut the lead now down to 1 by a score of 3-2. Aldrin over to Brown, who sets it for Jenkins. Over to Arcee. Back to Smith, who taps it right over Hetherington, as Hetherington was right there at the net. As he couldn't quite believe that one. So Randolph comes back and ties this one up at 3. And it'll be number 8, Noah May, here for the serve, as that one gets over to Jenkins, and Jenkins can't quite put that one over. So Randolph now takes back a 1-point lead here by a score of 4-3. May over the net, and it goes way out of bounds over the head of Friedman. And Friedman will check out and get a breather. Very surprising here as today so far, we've seen Uriah Collazo on the bench for the start of this match, which is really surprising, is because he normally starts here for the Cougars. But he is on the bench today here for Averett, as Averett is without their star here in this match against Randolph. As the Wildcats go over the net, and there'll be a point here for the Cougars, who the Cougars come back to tie this one up at 5. It'll be Addison Corey here back for the serve. Corey goes over the net, or gets over to Aldrin, digs it out. Over to Brown, who sets it up for Breen. Breen on the attack. Over to Smith, over to Arcee, as that one is tipped around. Arcee right there, and the point on the double tap will be given to the Cougars. So Averett now going back and forth here, toe-to-toe here with the Wildcats in the third set, as they now lead again 6-5 here by a point. Breen on the serve, over to Smith, over to Arcee, and the attack from the Wildcats ends up empty, as the Cougars now take a 7-5 lead here in the third set. Breen over to Brown, over to Arcee. On the attack is Brown, and that one will be tipped out of bounds by Aiden Williams for the Cougars. So we'll go back the other way here for the Wildcats. Be Samuel Brown here back for the serve for Randolph. Brown goes way off the back line. It'll be a point here for the Cougars, as Averett now takes a 2-point lead here, 8-6. Hernandez on the serve, over to Smith, over to Arcee. Right there is Brown, and Brown's attack goes way over the net, and the Cougars are now starting to build something special. I should say they're starting to build a lead. As Hernandez goes over the net to Brown, over to Arcee. And that was quickly swept over the net. Tapped over the net by Brown, and the Cougars are now taking a 4-point lead. So the Cougars in the third set have flipped the script between now and the first two sets, and the Cougars now build a 4-point lead here, 10-6 here in the third set. We're going to step aside here for the timeout here on the Averett Sports Network, but we'll be back in just a moment for the continuation of play. Hernandez now back for the serve for the Cougars. Hernandez goes over the net to Looney. Back to Marr, who sets up for Smith. It'll be off the hands of Freeman. Great take by Freeman. Over to Brown, over to Aldrin, and Aldrin puts that one away. As I thought that one had landed inside the lines, or inside the court. It looks like there'll be a point here for Randolph, as Aldrin can't get there. And the Wildcats have now cut the Cougar lead, now just down to 2. It'll be Dante Reed here back for the serve. And Reed's serve goes into the net. It'll be a point back here for Averett. So it'll be Aiden Williams back here for the serve for Averett. Playing with an 11-8 lead as that one goes right into the net, and he'll check out here for Freeman. As Freeman got about a minute of breather time before he came back in. Marr goes over the net to Aldrin, back over to Brown, back over to Aldrin. Aldrin on the attack, Looney right there for the dink. Marr for the setup. Over to Smith, blocked by the Cougars. Looney right there for Marr. Over to another big block here from the Cougars by the big front line of Luke Brown and Dominic Jenkins, as the Cougars have now built a 12-9 lead here in the third set and have taken a 3-point lead. Brown over to Looney. Back to Marr. Brown on the attack, and the referee says the point goes for the Wildcats, as that one was just inside the back line. It'll be number 13 here. It'll be Derek Smith on the serve, dug out by Freeman, over to Brown, back to Aldrin. They'll be off the hands of Smith, and then will go out of bounds. And the Cougars take back a point and take back the 3-point lead by a score of 13-10. And it'll be Shamo Smith to check back in here for the Wildcats. And Brown will check out here and get a water break. As Aldrin goes over that to Smith, back over to Marr, over to Shawmell Smith, and Breen and Jenkins are right there, and the Cougars make a save. And that one lands inside and right in front of the Averett defense. And Randolph has now cut the lead now down to 2. So both teams now 2 points within each other, as that one goes over that to Freeman. Over to Breen, and a big block there by Shawmell Smith, and Dante Reed ends up going out of bounds, and a point here for the Cougars. Jenkins over net to Smith, over to Marr, over to Smith, over to Aldrin, back over to A. Williams, over to Looney, back to Marr. And Dante Reed is the one put that one away here for the Wildcats. And they now pulled it within just 2. And it'll be Diallo here back for the serve for the Wildcats. Diallo over to Aldrin, sets up by Brown. Breen goes way long, as he couldn't quite keep that one in bounds. And Randolph keeps the streak going. And they now bring this lead to just within 1, as Hetherington is right there. And the Wildcats go back on the rally. Shamo Smith over for Hetherington. Over to Brown. Breen right there. A big block by the Wildcats, but it lands out of bounds. And the Cougars get a 2-point lead and get a little bit of a cushion of breathing room. So it'll be Nicholas Breen, the senior out of Danville, Virginia, here locally. And that one is a big celebration by the Cougars, as they have now taken a 3-point lead here again by a score of 16-13 over the Wildcats. So the Cougars fighting back here after the Wildcats have taken a 2-0 set lead. And stepped off right there, and that one lands right in front of the Cougar defense. And Randolph pulls down again to within 2. Smith goes over that shot. Smith goes over to Hetherington. Brown right there from Marr. They both met at the same time across the net. Hetherington shot is blocked but goes out of bounds off the hands of Marr and stepped off. As Hetherington will get a well-deserved breather here, and a pat on the back from Coach Tillman and Coach Nash here for the Cougars. Hernandez goes over the net for Looney. Back over to Marr. Back over to Smith, and a big block lands in bounds by Luke Brown and Nathan Williams. As they were able to get there right in the nick of time. So it'll be Hernandez here back for the serve. Shamel Smith and Looney right there, and Diallo on the backside. And Shamel Smith saves that one over to Hernandez. Over to Brown, and Brown's shot goes over the net and can't quite be dug out by Diallo. And Randolph wants to talk it over after the Cougars have taken a 5-point lead here in the third set. And the Cougars are looking to flip the script here in Danville. We'll be right back here on the Averett Sports Network in just a moment out of the timeout. Back here on the Averett Sports Network out of a Randolph College timeout. It'll be Julian Hernandez here back for the serve here for the Cougars. Hernandez goes over the net for Brown. Back to Marr, who sets up for Septoff. Off the net over to Freeman. And Aldrin is right there for the kill. And Liam Aldrin suddenly comes alive as he now puts the Cougars up by a 6-point lead here by a score of 20-14. And that one goes into the net now 20-15 and a 5-point lead here for the Cougars. 20-15 is the Cougar lead. And it'll be Septoff here back for the serve here for Randolph. Septoff over to Aldrin, who sets up for Brown. Back over to Aldrin. And Aldrin's shot this time goes way far off the back line. So he now gives the Wildcats back a point. So it'll be 20-16 now here for the Cougars. And the Wildcats serve off to Septoff. Aldrin is right there. It'll be off the hands of the Wildcats. So now a 5-point lead is here again here for the Cougars. Williams on the serve, over to Brown, over to Marr. Smith on the wild attack. Goes off the hands of Breen, and it'll be a Randolph point off of the absolute missile off the hands of Derek Smith. So it'll be Marr back for the serve. Hernandez right there for Brown. Jenkins gets it over the net for Brown. For Randolph. Back on the net is Smith. Off of Freeman. Second chance opportunity off the hands again of Derek Smith. Puts that one away for the Wildcats as they have now cut this lead now down to just within 3 by a score of 21-18. Mara goes over the net for Aldrin. Over to Brown. He sets it up again for Aldrin. Smith again, this time right there for Mara. Smith tips it. Over to Breen. Aldrin saves it. Over to Freeman. Over to Looney. Over to Marr. Diallo right there again for the kill for Randolph. And now Coach Tillman here for Averett wants to talk it over. We're going to go to another timeout here on the Averett Sports Network, but we'll be right back in just a moment. With the Wildcat bench chanting Marr's name on the serve as he'll get it over to Liam Aldrin. Aldrin's attack this time gets over Derek Smith. Back to Brown, who tips it right over the net, right on top of the U and the AU here in the middle of the floor. As Randolph now cuts the lead down to just 1. And we are at a tight 1-point lead here for the Cougars, as Randolph has pulled to within a 21-20 lead. And Jenkins goes way far off the back line as Randolph now comes back to tie this one up I thought all at 21, but I guess that one was off the hands of a Randolph player. So the Cougars now pull to within 22-20 as Marr is right there for Diallo. Off the hands of Brown as that one goes out of bounds, and it'll be a point here for Randolph. So a 1-point lead is all that's standing between the Cougars and Randolph from tying it up as Brown is right there for Breen. Breen over to Looney. Over to Marr, over to Diallo, back to Brown, over to Freeman who sets it up for Breen. Breen taps it over there for Marr. Over to Looney, who sets it for Diallo. Diallo's attack goes over the net, and the Wildcats have come all the way back to tie this one up at 22. As Coach Tillman wants to talk it over again, he'll bring his players back to the bench for another timeout here. And so we'll take it with him here on the Averett Sports Network, and we'll be right back in just a moment. And we are all tied up here in the Grant Center in the third set, coming down to the end of the third set here in the Grant Center, as the Cougars and the Wildcats are all tied up at 22 apiece, as that one is off the hands of Derek Smith, as the Cougars will get a 1-point lead here, 23-22. And Julian Hernandez will check out here and get a little bit of a breather. And Liam Aldrin goes over the net for Looney. Brown is right there for Diallo. Diallo taps it over the net. Freeman right there for the Cougars. Swiped over the net by Brown. Over by Moore. And Diallo is right there for the kill to tie it back up again at 23. Randolph. And goes over the net to Jenkins. Freeman right there for Aldrin. Over to Hetherington, who swipes over the net for Smith. Back to Marr. Stepped off right there for Randolph. And puts the Wildcats now up by 1 point. And they have now come back to take a 1-point lead here late here in the third set, which also happens to be set point now, as the Cougars now find themselves in a 1-point hole. It'll be Noah May back for the serve, as Freeman can't quite keep it in bounds. Aldrin is right there, and Randolph comes back to take a 2-point lead and take the match 3-0 here in Danville, as the Cougars drop to a record of 5-18, with the Wildcats now pull within a record of 16-10, as they now add a win to their records. It's been a joy here tonight to be on this one, as we're going to jump off here on broadcast, and we'll be back here for the next one here on the Averett Sports Network in just a couple of days to take a look at the schedule here, actually, before we jump off. To take a look at both schedules. After this one, the Cougars go on the road to Shenandoah University, as they face both Randolph-Macon and Shenandoah in a tri-match. With looking at Randolph's schedule, Randolph now, after tonight, goes back home